You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. And, as always, I apologize in advance for my Hebrew pronunciation. I'm an AI voice. Sometimes my Hebrew comes out sounding like a GPS that's lost in Jerusalem traffic. So if I pronounce something funny, just laugh with me. Today's topic is the Jewish humanism denomination, sometimes called Humanistic Judaism. Yes, it's a real movement. No, it's not just Judaism for atheists, though, in a way, it kind of is. But let's break it down properly. Imagine if you mashed up the wisdom of Jewish culture, history, and rituals with the you-do-you vibe of modern secular humanism. The result is Jewish humanism, a denomination that says, you don't need God to be Jewish. You just need people, culture, and values. Think of it as the Friends sitcom of Judaism. It's all about the group, the shared experiences, and the stories, not a divine figure directing things from the sky. Jewish humanism officially started in the 1960s, thanks to Rabbi Sherwin Wine, a Reform rabbi from Michigan who realized his beliefs didn't line up with traditional liturgy. He created services that skipped all the God talk but kept the structure, melodies, holidays, and cultural richness. Instead of saying, "Blessed are you, Lord our God," you might hear, "We celebrate this moment together," or "We affirm the dignity of every person." It's like rewriting your grandma's recipe for kugel without dairy. Same delicious vibe, just adapted to your taste. Wine founded the Society for Humanistic Judaism in 1969, which became the umbrella group for congregations in North America and beyond. It provided a space where secular Jews who didn't believe in God but wanted Jewish identity could gather, celebrate holidays, teach their kids Jewish history, and feel part of a community. This was radical at the time because most Jewish movements assumed some kind of divine framework. But Jewish humanism flipped the script. Identity first, belief optional. What makes Jewish humanism distinct is its bold honesty. Other secular-leaning Jews might still say prayers out of tradition, even if they don't really believe. Humanistic Judaism says, why pretend? Instead of murmuring through Hebrew words you don't believe in, you can celebrate in a way that's true to your worldview. Services often replace traditional prayers with readings about Jewish history, human dignity, or social justice. A Friday night Shabbat candle lighting might include blessings like, "We cherish this light as a symbol of our human responsibility to make the world brighter." Notice, no God required. It's like switching from magic spells to motivational quotes. Humanistic Judaism also values reason, science, and ethics grounded in human experience. That's why it's sometimes compared to Unitarian Universalism, another tradition that's more about people and values than theology. But unlike UU, Jewish humanism stays rooted in specifically Jewish history, culture, and rituals. You're still talking matzah, menorahs, and megillas, not mixing in Christmas trees or Easter eggs. So what do Jewish humanists actually do? They still celebrate all the major Jewish holidays, but with reinterpreted meanings. Passover, for example, might not be about God sending plagues, but about human struggles against oppression, linking the Exodus story to modern fights for freedom and equality. Rosh Hashanah is about reflecting on your life and goals, not asking God to write you in a heavenly book. Yom Kippur is a day of personal reflection and apology to those you've wronged, not prayers for divine forgiveness, but conversations with real people. Bar and bat mitzvahs? Still there. Kids still read from Jewish texts, give speeches, and celebrate. But instead of saying, "I accept God's commandments," they might say, "I take responsibility for living ethical Jewish values." Weddings and funerals? Still very recognizable, just without references to God. So, if you walked into a humanistic Jewish synagogue, it might look like a regular synagogue, but the words you'd hear would be focused on people, culture, and community. Now, you might be wondering, how big is this movement? Compared to Orthodox, conservative, or Reform Judaism, it's relatively small. Estimates suggest tens of thousands of adherents worldwide, mostly in North America, Israel, and parts of Europe. But its influence goes beyond numbers. It represents a very modern question. Can you be Jewish without belief in God? For many, the answer is yes. Surveys show a growing percentage of Jews, especially in America, identify as cultural Jews, or Jews of no religion. Humanistic Judaism gives those people an organized way to express Jewishness without pretending to believe things they don't. It's like finding the perfect vegan substitute for brisket. It may not be mainstream, but for the people it speaks to, it's exactly what they were missing. And in an era where authenticity is prized, Jewish humanism says, come as you are, even if you're secular, skeptical, or more into Einstein than Exodus. Of course, not everyone in the Jewish world is thrilled about this. Some critics argue, if Judaism doesn't have God, what's left? Isn't it just a cultural club? Orthodox Jews generally see it as outside the bounds of Judaism entirely. Conservative and Reform Jews may be more polite, but still see it as too radical. Yet Jewish humanists respond, Jewishness has always been about peoplehood, not just faith. After all, most Jews throughout history didn't spend their days in deep theology. They lived Jewishly through family, food, language, holidays, and ethics. God or no God, that's what created Jewish identity. In fact, humanistic Jews argue they're continuing the Jewish tradition of adaptation. Just like ancient rabbis reshaped Judaism after the temple's destruction, they're reshaping it for a secular age. So depending on your perspective, Jewish humanism is either the most honest Judaism or not really Judaism at all. And that debate keeps things lively, like any good Jewish dinner table argument. Education is a big part of Jewish humanism. Kids in humanistic Hebrew schools don't just learn Torah stories. They learn Jewish history, ethics, literature, and even critical thinking. Instead of memorizing commandments, they might study Jewish contributions to science, arts, and social justice. Think Einstein, Emma Goldman, Jonas Salk, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Holidays become opportunities to teach universal values. Passover teaches freedom. Hanukkah teaches resilience. Purim teaches courage. Hebrew is often still taught, but emphasis is on culture and peoplehood, not sacred language. This appeals to secular families who want their kids to feel proudly Jewish without feeling like hypocrites. Imagine if Sunday school was less about memorize this creed and more about let's debate Jewish philosophy and eat bagels. That's the vibe. Adults, too, engage in study groups, book clubs, and social justice projects. Many humanistic congregations put strong emphasis on activism, fighting for equality, human rights, and climate justice. Because if your theology says humans are responsible for the world, you've got to step up. Let's zoom out a bit. Jewish humanism fits into the larger trend of secular humanism, which emphasizes human dignity, reason, and ethics without the supernatural. But it's also deeply Jewish because it insists Jewish identity doesn't depend on belief in God. This resonates with the large percentage of Jews who identify as atheist, agnostic, or just Jewish. In fact, studies suggest that a majority of American Jews don't believe in the God of the Bible. So, Jewish humanism is less of a fringe outlier than you might think. It's just that most secular Jews don't formally join. Some are do-it-yourself humanists. They still light Hanukkah candles. They still go to Seder's, but their interpretation is cultural, not religious. Jewish humanism provides an organized, explicit framework for that approach. It answers the question, can I be fully Jewish if I don't believe in God? With a confident yes, and here's how. It's Judaism for the Netflix generation, binge-worthy culture, optional theology. One of the most interesting aspects of Jewish humanism is how it reimagines ritual. Rituals, in traditional Judaism, connect humans with the divine. But for humanistic Jews, rituals connect humans with each other. Lighting candles, breaking bread, or reading texts are powerful not because God commanded them, but because they bring people together, create meaning, and root us in tradition. It's like Thanksgiving. Nobody thinks a turkey is a religious requirement, but the ritual of gathering, eating, and reflecting creates deep belonging. In humanistic Judaism, Jewish rituals function the same way. They're symbolic actions that remind us of who we are, where we came from, and what values we want to live by. In that sense, humanistic Judaism isn't anti-ritual. It's pro-ritual, just reinterpreted. Ritual without supernaturalism still packs a punch. Ask anyone who's ever cried at a wedding or funeral. Community and memory can move us deeply. No divine intervention required. So to wrap this up, Jewish humanism is one of the youngest Jewish denominations, founded in the 20th century, but speaking powerfully to the 21st. It says, you don't need to believe in God to be Jewish, celebrate Jewish holidays, raise Jewish kids, or live Jewish values. It emphasizes honesty, reason, ethics, and community. Critics say it's too secular. Supporters say it's the most authentic reflection of modern Jewish life. Whether you find it inspiring or puzzling, it's part of the wide spectrum of Jewish diversity. And that's one of the coolest things about Judaism. It's a 3,000-year-old tradition that keeps evolving, reinventing, and debating itself. Jewish humanism is just the latest chapter in that story. Thanks for listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, send it to a friend, maybe the one who always rolls their eyes during synagogue prayers, and tell them there's a Jewish option just for them. And of course, don't forget to leave a review. Until next time, Shalom.